All right. A good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on in the past said week in the world of pop culture. Whether we're talking about local news, film and TV news, sports news, tech news, theater news, whatever the case may be, we try to bring you up to speed so that way you are not left in the wind. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And as always, I am not going to be alone in talking about the said topics this week. And we also have a guest host joining us as well. But first off, welcome co-host Mr. Spillman Trueheart, aka Spills. What's going on, sir? I think you're muted. Go ahead.
Good good morning, everybody. I hope that we're all doing well. The golden sun has come out, and the Lakers are just doing great. So, I'm in a great mood. I don't know about you, Brandon, but things are just looking up.
All right, all right, all right. I hear you. I hear you. And as I mentioned, we do have a guest host joining us this week. We've had him here on the show before, so it's great to have him back. He is the editor in chief of Critics. I'd like to welcome back to the show Mr. Keith, aka Clep Napier. Let me bring him on now. Keith, what's going on, man? Think you also have yourself muted. There we go. Unmuted. Here you go.
Okay, see, yeah, and he mentioned the Lakers here, and I feel so out of place because I'm just not the sports guy, but I'm gonna learn something today, so I'm
Yeah,
excited to
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
There we go. There we go. There we go. So, fellas, we had quite a bit that happened this past said week. Chief of which, of course, being the history that was set by the Oscars last Sunday. So we will be sure to dive into that. And Clep, I'm glad to have you here to get your 2 cents as well. However, before we do
Yeah.
that, we have a few other things that went down this week. Whether we're talking about some small little film trailers, some unfortunate passings, as well as some sports news. So without further ado, shall we dive in, folks?
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get it.
All right, excellent, excellent. So with that, we're going to talk. Start first with our trailers, but I want to give you guys a reminder before we dive in. Just know that efforts will be made to timestamp the stories accordingly, so that way you can skip forward or backwards to your heart's content to discuss the said stories that we talk about on this week's show. So with that, as I said, we're going to start this week's show with our sneak peeks this week. With two highly anticipated blockbusters. We're going to start first with what went down, or I should say, what was released on Tuesday, and that's with Dune Part 3 to be more specific, directed by Denis Villeneuve, from a script written by Villeneuve and Brian K. Vaughan, respectively. The third film is based on Frank Herbert's novel Dune Messiah, and is set up as the epic conclusion of Villeneuve's trilogy. The film stars, of course, Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Florence Pugh, Rebecca Ferguson, and Isaac Du Ben Calais, with Charlotte Rampling, Anya Taylor-Joy, Robert Pattinson, and Javier Bardem. It arrives in theaters on December 18th, 2026. Not to be outdone, the very next day, on Wednesday, we had another trailer that dropped, a small little trailer in the Spider-Man franchise, of course, this time being titled Spider-Man Brand New Day, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, from a script written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. The latest installment finds Peter Parker crime fighting in a New York City that only knows him as Spider-Man, devoting himself entirely to protecting his city as a full-time Spider-Man. The pressure sparks a surprising physical evolution that threatens his existence, even as a strange new pattern of crimes gives rise to one of the most powerful threats he has ever faced. The film stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, once again, Sadie Sink, Jacob Batalon, John Bernthal, Tremel Tillman, Michael Mando, and Mark Ruffalo. It arrives in theaters on July 31st. So, gentlemen, your thoughts on either film? I suppose we can start first with Dune, whoever would like to go first. But I tell you what, since you are a guest this week, Keith, I'm going to punt it over to you first. Your thoughts?
Um, don't mind that beeping. That's me cooking some wings in the background. So Dune. Listen, I'm. It's no secret that I'm not really a big fan of the Dune franchise per se. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was like, the second one will be better. It's better than the first one. And then, I struggled to get to the first one. I struggled to care in the second one because I didn't really connect with any of the characters. And
Sure.
then I saw the third trailer because, all the big hype and everyone was talking about it. And the one takeaway that I can always say is that Denny always knows how to shoot a picture. Like, it looks
Absolutely.
gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. The cast, of course, is phenomenal. A lot of people returning from the other installments. I guess there's another war coming. So for me, it was just visually stunning. Story wise, I don't really care or know what's going on, but I'm curious to see it just because it looks like it's going to be an epic in theaters, and that's something that I'm excited about.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay. All right. And Spills,
Your girl Zendaya is just making money hand over fist. I
I was gonna
just
say, man,
I close my
she's doing
eyes
okay.
sometimes. I see her back there. She be like, "All right, give me some more money for being back here." So I'm just really impressed with how her career has gone.
Shout out to her representation.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shout outs to her. She's playing kind of two different roles in this, even though she's the main female lead in both movies. In Dune 3, it looks like she's taking on a mothership figure, which is an interesting turn in her career. I watched the tennis movie she had out a couple of years ago
Loved
recently.
it.
Yeah,
Loved
that
Is
was
it
it.
a great
starts
movie.
with the C? Challengers.
Challengers.
Challengers. Yes.
Challengers.
Challengers. Yeah, that was a good piece. So just to
Mhm.
see her expanding her career and broadening her horizons is just amazing. And to talk about the Dune movie, that looks great. Our Gen Z people, they love that neutral. So everybody having on khaki looks awesome, man. I like to see everybody in the khaki. And then the Spider-Man movie looks amazing. I thought, my heart was like, oh, Marvel's going to be dumb and just go right to the symbiotes because they teased it kind of in the last Spider-Man movie, and I was thinking it was going to be symbiotes, but it looks like they're going to be doing with mutation or maybe even a clone saga. If they have a clone saga, ladies and gentlemen, Spill and
Please let's
Trueheart will
not do the
not be
clone
happy. I'm
saga,
not going to be
y'all.
happy with the
I'm
clone
just
saga
saying.
because
Please let's
it's
not do
too
that.
confusing. It's like, which one of you is the real Peter Parker? But, they had three Peter Parkers on the movie the last time. What really changes? How do you feel about it, Brandon?
So I'll say this:
You're muted.
I'm kind of the middle of the road when we come to the Doom franchise.
You're muted, bro.
Obviously,
Just let's go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
obviously, I'm not
Still now.
like.
Still now.
Oh, let's see. Okay, let's see. I feel like I can be heard. It doesn't look like I'm
I
muted.
can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you.
okay. All right, maybe just you spills. But anyway, be that as it may, when we're talking about the Doom franchise, I'm familiar with the history of the franchise, whether we're talking about the book, whether we're talking about the prior adaptation that we had. And I'll second you as well, Clep, in that
Mhm.
uh, Denise, when we're talking about the scope and the manner in which the story is captured is very impressive. Is very beautiful in terms of what is being able to be captured on the screen and to illustrate the scope of that said world. Uh, when we're talking about the franchise in and of itself, I felt like the first film was okay. I did enjoy the second film far more because I felt like there was a lot more happening in terms
Mhm.
of the stakes and what was already established. I feel like the first one had the undesired job of having to set everything up to be able to establish the world, to be able to establish all the different pieces. And
Mhm.
when we're talking about the second film, now that you already have all of those things already established, you can kind of get the ball rolling and you can really dive into the action and dive into the conflict. So I did appreciate it in that sense. I did enjoy the second one
Mhm.
more than I did the first one. But again, I felt like the first one was had that difficult task of setting everything up. The third one, I feel like the jury is still out. As you said, Clep, I'm not the biggest Dune fan. However,
Mhm.
when we're talking about that said franchise, I liked where things were headed from what we had in the second film. So hopefully we can keep that same momentum going into this third and quote unquote final film. At least in the story of Paul Atreides. Ideally, if they decide to continue the franchise further, which they do have an opportunity to, because there is more story there even beyond Paul Atreides. But in talking about Spider-Man, I will say this. I don't know how you guys feel about this. I am on the fence with Spider-Man, and here's the reason. I see a seed clap is. Hear me out. When we're talking about the MCU, I've been, in the trenches through much of this current, current phase that we've had that's been focused on
Multiverse.
the multiverse. And it's been very middling. There have been some that have been really good, some great things that we have gotten out of it, whether it's been, maybe a handful of films, maybe it's been a handful of Disney Plus shows, but there've been other ones that have been kind of kind of middling. So on paper, I guess the concern that I have is that there is so much going on in this film, and I feel like there's enough story to tell with just one of the things that they seem to be highlighting in this trailer that's going on. The mutation, that mutation component with what I can all but kind of surmise is Man Spider. That's enough for a film by itself. You don't need to have Punisher in the film. You don't need to have Hulk in the film. You don't need to potentially have Jean Grey in the film if the theory is what people are already trying to say it is. There's so many other things that are going on where I want them to be able to dedicate enough time to all the components that they have here, and hopefully, and I've been proven wrong before, where I'm like, you guys are introducing way too many things in this film for it to cohesively, work together. I felt that way about, the James Gunn Superman film, where I thought there was too much going on. There were too many characters, but somehow it came together. It worked. So hopefully I'm proven wrong in that with all the things that you have here. And then I didn't even fail to mention this. You have Tarantula. You have, I was just talking about like the heroes, or I guess in one case of one of the characters, anti-heroes. I mean, you have all of these villains as well. You have Scorpion. You have, as I just mentioned, Tarantula. You have this other mystery character that we still don't know who it is, who we're hearing as the voiceover with Keith David, who ideally may be a villain in and of himself. So there's so much going on here, and I'm just concerned that there won't be enough time dedicated to cohesively incorporate all these different things. Oh yeah, and I forgot Tombstone is in there too. Did I forget about Tombstone? Like it's a lot. It's a lot. So that's my big thing is if we're going to do a story like this, and I understand this is kind of what a soft. I guess you can arguably say this is a reboot of the character of sorts, where he's starting back from square one from where we left him before, of him being, a street level villain and not a street level hero, I should say, and not a galactic, world trodden hero like we saw in the Infinity Saga with the adventures that he had there and trying to take down Thanos. But I really hope that they're able to bring it all together. That's all I'll say. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
I listen. I'm ready to talk about this. So
okay, let's go.
I have a bit of an unfair advantage because I may or may not have seen a certain season 3 of some things.
Okay.
So, and not saying that anything is directly connected. I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna throw that out there, but I feel like I have an unfair advantage in what the MCU is trying to do. I honestly love this trailer. I think that we got to have a little more faith in the squad that Feige has right now. So if we go down the list, we've got Ryan Coogler, Matt Shakman, the Russo brothers, Daniel Destin Craig, all who are responsible for the best things in the MCU.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
I will give you that. I will
There's
give you
Okay.
that.
no lies were detected.
So now we got Daniel, helming Spider-Man. And I really think that this trailer is a complete misdirect. I think everything that we've seen in this trailer is not even the meat of the story. I think it's a lot of the beginning and a lot of the end. And the stuff
Okay.
in between, we got like specks of it. So I think the primary villain in this film will be Scorpion, with a heavy tie-in with Tombstone. I think the stuff with Boomerang and Tarantula are going to be used similar to how they use it in Fantastic Four.
Okay, fair enough.
I think the ending with the hand is the ending shot. I don't think it's a primary fight. I think it's the ending shot that closes us out of the movie.
Okay. All right.
I think so. And I've been watching this trailer like over and over and over and over, just trying to make it make sense, because I feel just like you. I was like, there's so much going on in this. How is any of this going to make sense when we're telling a single Spider-Man story? I do think that we're probably going to get some iteration of Man Spider, but it'll probably be like in a dream sequence. I don't think they're going to full on go with it. They won't. They're going to give us the nod.
That's too dark.
Yeah.
That's way too dark.
So that the fans can be like, oh, it happened, but it didn't really happen, and we're not going to get like body horror in a Spider-Man movie. But I think that we'll get enough of it where fans will be like, well, they went there. Everyone's speculating about the Jean Grey thing. We don't know, but I think that there is some mutant aspect in it. I think they're going to use Spider-Man to kind of throw us into the mutant saga, or like sprinkle a little bit into it. Multiverse is going to get wrapped up with Doomsday. I think they already know that fans aren't really feeling it. So we got enough of that in the last Spider-Man. I highly doubt we're going to see any more of that for a long time until Doomsday hits, and then they hit us with Secret Wars. And to address the symbiote thing, I think that's when we're going to get the symbiote. We're definitely not going to get the symbiote stuff. It's going to be just like Secret War number 8. They're going to wait, because that gives us a reason to come back for a better Spider-Man movie. You know what I mean? If you give us a symbiote in the next one and not this one, oh, you could be for sure we're all rushing to the theater to see the next Spider-Man, because we're already excited for this one.
Well, I'll say this is supposed to be, from what I understand, supposed to be a new trilogy. So, in using the theory or the premise that you're given, I would imagine if they've already introduced the symbiote, and this is answering your question, Spills, is you have the Avengers movies in which he actually, just like you would have in the comics, he actually, gets the symbiote during that period of time. He brings it back with him, for 2 and 3, and you basically have 2 and 3 almost be what you're doing with the Avengers films, of having them be connected, where the second film is him actually being in New York City using a symbiote, and then the third film is him against Venom. Like you introduce Rock in that second film. After they come back from, Doomsday and Secret Wars, you do your Spider-Man, your second and third Spider-Man in this franchise, but it's a continuation. You're able to continue what you have in those Avengers films, and then you carry that over to the second and third film. That would be the easiest landing for that.
And correction, season 2, I meant to say, not season 3. I saw season 2.
I know what you meant. Yeah, I got you.
You said I've been in the future. But, I think that that's interesting. But, you guys are saying there's too many characters. This is just Spidey Supreme. I don't know if you guys know. He's just going to, he was washing his own clothes. So he's like, I don't even have time to get help from anybody. I'm Spidey Supreme. I'm going to be running between different places. I'm going to be chasing after people's dogs. I'm going to be in underground tournaments, with NBA legends. So, I think that that's really what they're going to do with everything they're going to have, just instead of just famous people, it's going to be Marvel characters. So where you're like, hey, that's Tombstone. I ain't seen Tombstone before in a movie. And you're like, yep, there he is. And then, they get roughed up, and then they go to the next set piece. And it's just, your heart's going to be going. I think that frantic pace, especially since, we got the news this week that they were saying that Timothy Chalamet try out to be Spider-Man, but they said that you don't have enough ballet. You don't have enough ballet or opera in your career, so maybe this is all a nod from the Marvel Studios to tell Timothy Chalamet that opera and ballet are important, because that's how you become Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
You have to be able to get on your toes and be flexible.
He brought that all the way. I appreciate it. I see what you
Listen,
did. You bring it
listen.
all the way
I mean,
around.
he's looking like a heel out there right now. I wouldn't
Oh,
mind them
yeah.
bringing him in as Harry.
There you go.
Yeah,
That would
right.
be awesome.
Hey, that would be awesome.
That would
That
be
would be
awesome.
awesome. Shoot, bring him in as either Harry or shoot. You can. I mean, I know you kind of already have it now with um with his
Ned.
BFF. Yeah,
Ned.
with Ned, with Hobgoblin. But I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like Timothy would be a good Hobgoblin. So
Mm.
he would be an interesting Hobgoblin if you're
Yeah.
talking about, you know, kind of like similar to what we saw in the animated series and that iteration of the other characters. So
Yeah.
but you know, I do like what you said there, Clep, of how they may address all those things. I could see maybe for the lesser known characters, maybe they do it in a montage.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
you have, like you said, Scorpion and what is it, Tombstone as your main villains. But that still
Yeah.
begs the question: what is that going to look like with the Hulk of it all? Like that still it still begs the question of how he's going to fit within all of that. Because if you're putting Hulk in the mix, then that cancels out Tombstone, that cancels out Scorpion, because that's not really a viable enough threat. So I am curious. I do believe that for those lesser characters that they will, you know, incorporate them in a montage. But I will be very curious to see. I understand the Bruce Banner side of it, of where he would fit in, of his
Yeah.
expertise. But in terms of having the Hulk in there, uh, I'm really curious to see how that's going to work, because Hulk is such an OP character, and we're no longer getting a Professor Hulk, which is kind of a muted down version of that character. We're getting a Savage Hulk in this one, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
we're talking about Savage Hulk, all bets are off. When we're talking about
Yeah.
the power scaling of having a challenge in there that uh, allows it to make sense to incorporate Hulk into a film.
What
Where
about a
Maybe
Man Spider Hulk battle? That would be cool.
or a Tombstone Hulk battle.
Really? Okay.
Tombstone. I don't think
So they're really going to
Tombstone's.
have to
He
beef
doesn't
up.
have the
They're
range.
really going to have to up the power scale with Tombstone. Then
Yeah, he doesn't have the
they
range. I don't
really
think
going to have
so.
to up his power scaling, because I
Yeah.
agree with you too. When we're talking about as much as the horror person in me wants a man spider in this film,
Yeah.
I know
It's
because of
Kafka-esque.
merchandising and kids, like they're not really going to go too far with it, even though there's
Yeah.
a opportunity to really go really far with it. I don't know if you guys ever saw. They did kind of a small short film with Chandler Riggs from The Walking Dead. I don't know if any of you guys saw this. You guys can look it up on YouTube, where he
I gotta
did
look that up. I never saw that.
Spider-Man. Yeah, he did a Spider-Man-esque type of short film where it was like body horror, and he actually turned into a man spider. But
Oh
they
wow.
incorporated the same like type of powers that Spider-Man would have to begin with, and they made it kind of like really realistic of what that would look like. Instead of it being kind of like fun and heroic, it got like really dark and like crazy. So for those of you who haven't seen it, you know, you guys can look it up on YouTube. But you got Chandler Riggs, you know, Coral from Walking Dead.
I'm actually gonna share. I'm gonna find that and share that.
Coral from Walking Dead. Yeah, he did
Yeah.
a body horror, because a lot of people don't realize this. Aside from Timothy Chalamet, he was another person who was up to be the MCU Spider-Man way back when, before they eventually went to Tom Holland, because he's actually friends with, from what I understand, Tom Holland. I guess they know each other, but yeah, like he ended up being the person who was one of the people that they were like screen testing outside of Tom Holland, in addition to Timothy Chalamet, to be the MCU Spider-Man way back when. And I guess that was kind of his way of auditioning or demonstrating, you know, his capabilities of what they might do with the Spider-Man character. He tried to do this, you know, he did this little horror short of Spider-Man. So again, check that out. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the film. I guess I said, I would just say I am cautiously excited, because I am curious to see how all those pieces fit. But if they figure out a way to do it in the way that you're mentioning, Clep, perhaps perhaps there is hope. Perhaps there
Any
is.
any speculation on who Keith David is?
There have been theories out there that he may be playing Jackal.
Oh, Spot.
Yeah,
See, Clone
yeah,
Saga. You see what I told you guys? I'm deep in the verse. That's
Right?
the Clone Saga.
That's a
yeah,
deep cut, man.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the Clone
Because
Saga.
I
They were
mean,
going to
here's
get
the
a
thing:
Ghost
they've
Gwen
made the
Stacy
argument.
next.
I was gonna say they made the argument that this film is going to have a character. I remember them saying that in the past that this film will have a character that they have not done thus far in a Spider-Man film. We haven't had. We haven't had. What is it? Scorpion in a live action
Nope.
Spider-Man film, and we haven't had Tombstone. Be that as it may, he's been in other mediums. He's been, in animated. They've used him to death in the animated shows, but he hasn't been in a live action show. But I feel like they're also meaning across other mediums too. And if we're talking about, I'm not talking about the Into the Spider-Verse Jackal. I'm talking about, there's a scientist who, deals with genetics and cloning that would make sense with the theme that they seem to be going for with this said film. So that is what I've been hearing. It could be incorrect. Maybe you have a different theory, which is why you asked. Do you have a different suspicion of who it might be?
I mean, I was gonna go as simple as maybe Connors
Could be.
or our Osborn, but Connors more because of that storyline. The whole
Genetics.
neogenic nightmare storyline. It was either Morbius or Connors that was helping him. You know what I mean? So I feel like it would be.
Go ahead.
I feel like they're gonna use Banner or Connors. You know what I mean? Like instead of
Mhm.
Morbius and Connors. So he's gonna go to more than one person. I don't think Bruce is gonna be like his first go-to. That's too obvious. But
Yeah.
but I think you're right about there being like another son. Maybe it'll be a scientist that they just throw in the mix. Maybe he'll be a scientist from Roxxon or somewhere else. You know what I mean? Maybe he works for OSCARS, but it's not. Maybe it'll just be nobody, but he'll just be a scientist from. He'll be a piece of a bigger narrative.
I mean, I'll say this: like I've heard the theory about what is it about Connors being the character that Keith David is playing. I like that idea. I guess the only reason why I'm not immediately going for it is because if you're going to bother having Kirk Connors in a Spider-Man film, he eventually down the line, even if he never becomes it in one film, he eventually down the line has to become the Lizard at some point. And if we're talking about the timetable of how much time we know it takes for these films to get made, I love Keith David, but I'm just saying,
He ain't sticking around, man.
I don't
Yeah.
know if by the time we get to a 2 and 3, if he's still with us. Hopefully he is. I'm not I'm not saying, I'm not putting it out in the universe. I want you to stay around, Mr. David. I want you to stay around forever. But I'm just saying, like, just realistically, I don't know if, because I'm just saying in the best case scenario that you get a second and third film right after Secret Wars, but that may not be the case. We may, in terms of scheduling, they may throw another Thor film. I know that they're doing another Thor film. They may put the new Thor film right there before we get our second and third Spider-Man film of this trilogy. They may throw in another Shang-Chi film. I mean, we just talking about Destin, with this film, and we still have yet to get a sequel to that film, and I know they're trying to do a sequel to that. And he's in, what is it, Doomsday, and I would assume Secret Wars as well. So if you're bothering to have him a part of the current roster, I would imagine that in order to keep the excitement up for that said character, that you're going to give him his next solo adventure. If you're bothering to have him a part of the Avengers roster, it may mean something. So we'll see for sure. But yeah, like my my theory in there is that, based on the themes that we seem to be talking about with transformation, with being a mutant, even though I'm gonna get really deep cut on you,
Mutate.
guys.
Mutate.
I was about to say Spider-Man's a mutate and not a mutant. A lot of people get confused, but be that as it may, just the overall idea of transformation and genetics and things of that nature, I believe that he is playing Jackal. So, but maybe you guys out there feel differently. You can let us know in the comments. We're going to move on to, unfortunately, some somber news. And again, let us know your thoughts on what we had with, as I said, the Dune trailer, as well as the Spider-Man trailer as well. But as I said, switching gears to some somber news, we had some folks that passed away this week. As we begin our Legacies Remembered segment, as Monday, it was reported by TMZ that the longtime co-host of the iconic music showcase, Showtime at the Apollo, Kiki Shepard, had died. According to Kiki's reps, LaSheryl Smith, she unexpectedly died from a massive heart attack in Los Angeles on Monday. She was 74. Moving on a few days later, on Friday, we had a legendary action icon, Chuck Norris, passed away suddenly after being hospitalized. The news came by way of the actor's family via social media, commenting on the actor's unexpected death. Norris was 86, and then also, this is crazy, also on Friday, Buffy and Criminal Minds star Nicholas Brendan was revealed to have passed as well. Similar to Norris, the news came from the actor's family, who released a statement online revealing that he had passed in his sleep from natural causes. Brendan was 54. So, gentlemen, your thoughts on the passings that we had this week? Whoever would like to go first.
I mean, for me, the one that hit the hardest, I'd have to say would be the Chuck Norris one.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I grew up on Kiki Shepard. I mean, I used to watch, Showtime at the Apollo, and I wasn't really a big Buffy fan. That was a little more after my time. I just wasn't really into that show. But Chuck was like the first action hero my dad ever like introduced me to, or one of. He was watching these movies, and I was just a young kid, the age of 9, 10, sitting back watching Lone Wolf McQuade, watching all these movies, the movies with him and Chuck Norris. I mean, with Bruce Lee. So for me, and it's funny because like I feel like he's one of those icons that you just never saw in the limelight. So when you put that photo up, I didn't even know he looked like that. The last memory I have of him is in Dodgeball. And then when he tried to do like the Walker, Texas thing again, and I'm like, he still kind of looks the same, but that picture there, I don't even know who that is. Like I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I've never even seen him look like that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of shocking. It's like our heroes, man, they get old. We get old, man. It just sometimes it's best to just see them as we remember them, because I would have never even recognized him on the street if I walked by him.
Yeah, I hear you. Spills?
Yeah, I gotta second it. I feel like I'm a person who be on the internet, and the era of the internet where we was making Chuck Norris jokes.
Oh
Like we
man,
revived that man's career, man. Like I feel like,
Shout out to
Walker,
Family Guy.
shout out to Family Guy. Like I feel like so many of the message boards that we made famous today, like Reddit and stuff, I don't feel like they would have been places without those Chuck Norris memes. I feel like the Chuck Norris
yeah,
memes definitely like created a lot of the verbiage of the internet. I feel like it made brag rap a lot better because the things that people say now in rap is a lot more bodacious because of the Chuck Norris um quotes. I just, how could death beat Chuck Norris? Chuck Norris beat death. Like he's beaten
mm-hmm.
everything. They said a
Yeah,
snake bit him, and then after 5 days of agony and pain, the snake passed away, ladies and
yeah,
gentlemen. It's Chuck Norris, man. Oh, just so sad, man. I really love Chuck Norris. Like you said, the dodgeball cameo was crazy. Walker, Texas Ranger. My girl was just telling me how much she loved Walker, Texas Ranger. She's like, that was my show. It's like,
yeah,
how can you not love this man? And then
yeah.
obviously the iconic battle he had with Bruce Lee in that Coliseum
Game of Death.
with the little cat, like so hard. Who would think a kitten could be so vicious looking? But they made it that way in the Game of Death, and I just can't say enough about Chuck Norris. Just Rest in peace. And rest in peace to Kiki. And rest in peace to Nicholas Brendan. Shout out to all my Buffys and Angel fans. I know that y'all are
Yeah.
sad about the passing. So yeah.
So I mean, I'll say this, and when we're talking about the passings that we have, starting first with Kiki, incredible legacy that she's left behind. A lot of people forget that even before she was doing Apollo, she was a dancer as well, actually a pretty well known dancer. In her set right, and this was like back in the early '70s before she even did, Showtime at the Apollo. But just talking about the other things that she's done, obviously the her period as a host for that show. I mean, she acted on a number of shows, made appearances on a number of shows, and was also on the stage on Broadway as well. So incredible talent in terms of her different skills that she brought to the table as an artist. Now, in talking about Chuck Norris, I have an interesting, it's a fascinating relationship with Chuck Norris because, you guys have mentioned a lot of the stuff that he had, in terms of his filmography, but, in talking about those said things in his filmography, whether it's, as I said, his time as an action icon across a number of action films, give a shout out to my late grandmother. Like, her show was Walker, Texas Ranger. She did not miss an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. I spent, as a kid, like I oftentimes, I spent weekends with my grandmother, and like that was her show. She could not miss that show whenever it aired. So like that was my memory of that era of his career. But a lot of people forget this too. That infomercial era. That
Yeah.
Total Gym, man. Like, that
Total
was
Gym,
all the
yeah.
time. You wake up, boom, you have a Total Gym commercial on. And him being the representative, spokesperson of that, and demonstrating being a person who was basically a figurehead of like fitness, especially for people who quote unquote thought that their best days were behind them. Like he kind of like revitalized that said idea of being able to continue your fitness journey even beyond those years that you may feel like you're not capable of continuing your said fitness journey. So I'll give a shout out on that as well. But I know, Clep, I know you mentioned that you weren't a Buffy person. I'm
Mm.
In terms of where we stand in terms of age. I know you're a little older than me, so I guess I was at the age where I did watch
Yeah.
Buffy. So that
I was
did
I was a fan of the
love.
movie. I was a
Oh,
fan of the movie.
that one too. That one too.
Yeah.
But in talking about the TV show, because I feel like when the movie came out, I was in elementary school, but when the show came out, I was in middle school. So
Yeah.
I did watch, watch the run of Buffy, and then commenting on what you mentioned as well, Spills, watching Angel as well, and so bummer, to have Nicholas, pass away. Um, I watched maybe a couple of episodes when he was on Criminal Minds, but my that relationship of his work is from Buffy, and also on the con circuit. He was the type of person he was a perennial guest across a whole bunch of shows when we're talking about conventions, and so I would run into him all the time. I want to say the first time that I ran into him, and this is a shout out to the show that we had just last week, was Awesome Con. He was a guest at the very first Awesome Con back in 2013, but I would run into him periodically at other shows like Dragon Con and a bunch of others. And he's one of the few people, regardless of how you feel, I know that he's had, things troubling, personally that he's like gone through. But when it was time to do a show, as a guest in terms of interacting with attendees, he was very gracious. I can't think of a time where like I had a horrible experience in terms of my interactions with him. And that's not an easy thing to say among other guests that have been at conventions that, you know, maybe one con they were fine, and then another con maybe because they were having a bad day. I don't know, whatever the case was, they were very curt and short. So like that's one thing that I could give credit to Brendan about, is that he seemed to be very appreciative of the impact that he had in terms of the character that he had on Buffy and Angel in that universe. And he was always gracious in the interactions that I had with him. So, you know, unfortunately, that's crazy that, you know, you pass away at 54, you know, in your sleep. So again, condolences to every, you know, all the folks that we just mentioned, whether we're talking about Kiki Shepard, Chuck Norris, or Nicholas Brendan. You can let us know down below in the comments, you know, what your thoughts were on out of the three artists that we had that passed. You know, perhaps there's a project of theirs in their respective bodies of work that you enjoyed the most. I'm curious to know what that is, so you can let us know down below. But that is going to do it for our Legacies Remembered segment. Now we're going to get into some lighter news as we jump into some sports. So give me 1 minute here, which I'm sure Mr. Spills is going to want to hop into immediately. So I may just give him the floor to talk about this, but I'm going to introduce it first. As I said, we're going to move on to lighter news, moving to the hardwood, as LBJ, aka LeBron James, added another impressive feat to his resume as he scored 30 points in a game against the Houston Rockets on 13 of 14 shooting. While scoring 30 is not unheard of for James, the shooting percentage is, as James at 41 years old became the oldest player in NBA history to score at least 30 points on 90+% shooting by almost 5 years. So your thoughts, gentlemen, on James's latest milestone. And I tell you what, Spills, I'm going to punt it over to you because I know that's your guy.
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about that man on the Lakers, LeBron. But, you know, I'm just so happy. You know, just a few weeks ago, Brandon was talking about how dead in the water the Lakers were, and we was going to be all terrible. This is not even the most impressive thing LeBron did this week. That's the thing that's crazy about it. The man is a walking milestone. He's NBA player emeritus. That's what they should get. They be putting plaques on his jersey like he's a Boy Scout, an Eagle Scout even. He set the all-time record for most NBA games played this week as well. That isn't even what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the fact that he's still more efficient than 99% of the people in the NBA. Like, you know, it might be 10 guys that's better than him, maybe 10. You can't tell me who's better than him, but just a phenomenal career. I'm just so happy to see what LeBron has been able to do for my Los Angeles Lakers. Can't wait till the 30th when we get to play those Wizards. Maybe Luka might set a 90-point record. Who knows?
Well, I will say this, Spills. While it is impressive that LeBron achieved this feat, you know, again, shout out. It's not easy under any circumstances to score 30 points and only miss one shot, let alone being 41 and doing so. But can we be honest and say that custody battle Luka is kind of helping you out there with the incredible scoring streak that he's been having the last couple of days? But let's be honest, that's playing a little role in this little streak that y'all got.
Well, he may be playing a role. You know, obviously we got AR-15. He's doing good. DeAndre Ayton is winning us games in the clutch. So, you know, you can say what you want. Luke Kennard, he had to pull up his sleeve so he could drop that J on him. So, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon's trying to make me feel bad about this Lakers team. And, you know, we look like we could beat anybody right now. We could beat the Thunder. All you got to do to the Thunder, do a little bit of that kind of stuff. Throw some jabs, you can win the game. I don't think that they're mentally tough. They're not going to repeat this year. We haven't had a repeat champion. I believe since LeBron. Is that the last repeat? Or no, your Warriors were the last repeat champions.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes,
I forgot. Y'all went and cheated and got Kevin Durant. I forgot about that cheating y'all did. But He did some cheating for the Kevin Durant to go there, but you know,
He
LeBron is a
willingly
GOAT.
came. He willingly came over.
That was cheating.
He
Hey,
willingly
hey,
came
hey!
over.
If David Stern was still alive when that happened, he would have been like, "No, I'm not letting y'all put that man on that team. That's not fair. That's not fair."
But I was going to say, Keith, let me bring you up to speed. Reason why I bring up custody, you probably like, that's crazy. You have
Don't
someone
talk about
called,
people's parenting.
someone's called custody. What is it? Custody Luca.
Custody battle.
So yeah, so apparently he's going through a custody battle with over his daughters right now. And
She
in the
absconded
time
out
that
the country.
he's been playing out of his mind, scoring 30 and 40 points a game the last like like he's
10 games,
yeah,
last
last
10
like 10
games.
games. He's been playing, I think he had one 60-point game in that span, and then the other ones are like been 30, 40-point games since then. And don't get me wrong, this is a guy who's already the league leader in points per game this season. But like he's like now that he's whatever got, whatever issues he's dealing with off the court, he's taking it out on everybody in NBA where he's like
He's in a zone right now.
the internet has gone wild.
Supremely in
They
the
called
zone.
him custody battle Luca, which I think is diabolical. That's wild to say. He give him a nickname, but hey, like he doing his thing. I can't deny that. But as you mentioned, I know you're not a huge sports guy, but your thoughts on LeBron and that on that shot attempts and what he accomplished at 41,
I mean,
man.
for me, I mean, the age thing is impressive, you know what I mean? But for me, it's like, there's no emotion for it. I mean, my man, hey, he's excited. I'm just like, I come from the Jordan era. Like, it's like everybody always be like, Bron, but I'm just, it ain't, to me, it ain't like how it used to be when it comes to any of these players.
Thank
To
you.
any of these players, like what it used to, like we was rocking jerseys just because, like.
Thank you.
So
I'm just saying I'm a Jordan era guy. You can age me or however way you want, and I think LeBron is right up there. I've told you this many times, Spills,
he's
that
great,
he's
but
at my number 2, like all time. But I'm sorry, I can't get past the defensive resume, and I can't get past the win-loss percentage in finals. The fact that he's gone to that many finals is what has put him above other players. The fact that you're able to get that far, but you got to win them, man. You can't lose. You can't have a losing percentage, in finals. And don't care how many times you've gone. If he had a winning percentage, he'd be my number 1, but he's not. So
That's not true, ladies and gentlemen. I know
sorry.
we put our hands together, but nobody in this chat has said Bill Russell's the greatest of all time. So we're not gonna have that argument, ladies and gentlemen. We're not gonna poo-poo LeBron James' greatness. He's the GOAT, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to say, no one's like him.
You're
Yes,
a fan on
he's
this
the
team. It's
Wayne
cool.
Gretzky
It's
of
cool. I
basketball.
respect it.
The
I
Wayne
respect it.
Gretzky of basketball, the number 1 scorer all time, and like number 4 assists, on top of all these other records. But
But I will say
we're not gonna
this.
talk about it.
And again, respect to the fact, you're right. Respect to the fact that LeBron is the all-time leading scorer, all-time in NBA history. Respect. But can we also admit that in this era of basketball that we have with what is it, management of games and how they've extended, players being able to play over
Michael
more
took off
seasons.
5 years of his career, ladies and gentlemen. We're not
You're
going to
making
talk
an
about that.
argument though.
He retired. That's games management. He said, "Oh, I've been gambling so much that they may have done something untoward with my father." Shout out to Air Jordan, because I do like the world's greatest dad threes they coming out with. You seen them? Them pretty slick. I might have
They
to get
do, they do. But
those.
I guess
They
the only
look
reason
pretty
why I bring
slick.
that argument to you, Spills, is because we just had, and this is a shout out to a local player of ours who's one of the greats and still actively playing, Kevin Durant, who's from DC metro area. Shout out Kevin Durant, just passed Michael Jordan recently in terms of points scored all time, and now he's the 5th all time leading scorer in NBA history, and he's still actively playing. We have a lot of players, or not a lot, but we have a handful of players that are still actively playing and hitting all of these milestones because they are playing further and further into their career. I mean, Steph is what, 38, and he's still playing at a incredible clip. And if that was the case back in the 80s or 90s, he would be on the point of retirement. He wouldn't still be the franchise player of his team, still scoring 20 plus points a game. So I think we also have to admit that the game is in a different spot now in terms of, I guess you can, if you want to call it, science that's utilized with the game today, and the fact that we're having a load management conversation that's been happening, that players are extending their careers a little further, however way you may feel about that. And that's
we talk about somebody who has the most games played in the history of the NBA. You said he is load managing. You see how LeBron is going so far and above?
How many years past Jordan has LeBron played?
Like 6 seasons.
Yeah, this is year 23 for LeBron James.
23. I think Jordan played 16 years. It might be 9 seasons.
But are you counting when Jordan left and came back, or are you counting when he left first?
We are talking about any time that Michael Jordan decided that he could play basketball. When he was decided he wanted to play, he didn't always play when he needed to play. LeBron came and worked every day.
Question, Keith, he's
the
counting
best ability
the 2
is
times that he returned. So the first time he came back to the Bulls, and when he came back again later on with the Wizards.
You pick up the phone, you say, "Hey, you want to hang out on Friday?" LeBron is going to say yes every single time. Michael Jordan be like, I want to play baseball. I can't hang out with you. I want to go and be
you're proving my point, because can LeBron say that, I'm going to leave and play another sport, come back, and then win another 3 championships?
That's where I was going with it.
He's too dedicated to the game of basketball to waste his time playing in the minor leagues of a different.
Let me just go over here and play some baseball.
Birmingham.
My man left.
I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna play the game that's not even on TV. They're not even gonna put the game on TV.
I ain't never heard of nobody that just leave and then just come back and just win. Like, what?
That's right. LeBron was always winning. He always winning.
Bill's immediate argument is that he didn't win immediately, and I understand that. That's fair. But once he got back in the swing of things, I feel like it was that second season after coming back, it was 3 consecutive. He didn't look back
for the Bulls. He was not good with the Wizards. He was never in third place in the East, looking like they was going to win a championship.
They're the Wizards. Come on, that's not even right.
But we're talking about 2 different calibers of guys. We talk about Michael Jordan was good. Michael Jordan was good from like 22 to 34. After that, he was not good.
The Wizards, the team that just had a good player, not a great player, had a good player score 83 points on them.
But this is the GOAT. The GOAT should be able to do that. LeBron won a championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
As I said,
Cleveland Cavaliers. We're not talking about any kind of team. The Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the first time that whole city won a championship since they invented color TV. So you trying to sit up here and say, "Oh, it's the Wizards. He couldn't win." LeBron won with the Cleveland Cavaliers, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe this. Trying to say, "Oh, it's the Wizards." Like Cleveland is a good squad. I can't believe you, sir.
But be that as it may, wherever you guys fall, you can let us know in the comments whether you're in the LeBron camp. As I said, kudos, congratulations, sir, on yet another milestone and feat that you have accomplished. Incredible what you have done in terms of your consistency. You're still my number 2, not my number 1, but respect in terms of your consistency that you have continue to do even now in year 23, because I know we had a lot of jokes where they've shown it on the court where you have players now currently that walk up to him and say, "Hey, you played my dad. Like, you played my dad about 10, 15 years ago, and now he's playing their kids in the NBA." That is wild to say. But be that as it may, we are going to get into our main topic segment. Let us know in the comments, again, guys, your thoughts on the feat that was made by LeBron James. But we're going to move on from that, as it may be, to our main topic segment known as Film and TV Talk. It is our main topic segment for this week's show. As you know, we have a different segment that is our main topic each week, but Film and TV Talk is it this week, as there was some history made with a small award show. We also have another potential actor strike that may be on the horizon, as well as a cult classic that is getting, I guess you can say, a reimagining or a remake. But beginning first on Sunday evening, the 2026 Oscars kicked off at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. One battle after another led the way with 6 wins, with Sinners close behind with 4. As a result, Warner Brothers led distributors with 11 statues. Netflix was next with 7, including 3 for Frankenstein. The streamers, K-pop Demon Hunters was the only other film with multiple trophies Sunday in comparison to all the other studios represented that did not win more than 1. History would be made that night as Michael B. Jordan would win Best Actor, becoming only the 6th Black actor to do so in the awards history. Best Actress winner Jessie Buckley would become the first Irish woman to win the award. The K-pop genre picked up its first Oscar thanks to the hit pop song Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters as well. And last but not least, Sinners director of photography, Autumn Durald Arkapaw became the first woman to win the cinematography category. Also on Sunday, SAG-AFTRA and studios failed to reach a deal on Sunday, the final day of their primary negotiations period. The negotiations over the union's next 3-year deal covering film and TV work are now set to continue later this spring ahead of the contract's June 30th expiration. Finally, a few days later on Wednesday, A24 announced that I May Destroy You creator Michaela Coel is writing and directing a remake of Jean-Claude Van Damme's martial arts classic Bloodsport. The 1988 cult classic original starring Van Damme was directed by Newt Arnold and centered on a U.S. Army captain and his jiu-jitsu practitioner who competed in an underground full contact martial arts tournament in Hong Kong. As it stands right now, plot details on Coel's reimagining haven't been revealed as of yet, so it's unclear how closely her take will follow the original film. So, gentlemen, as I said, we had some history that was made by the Oscars. We have a potential strike. Hopefully that won't happen, with SAG-AFTRA, and we have a remake or reimagining, however the case may be, of how you want to, label it for Bloodsport. So your thoughts. And I tell you what, Clep, since you are a guest this week, I would love to hear your thoughts to start.
I got a question about like the Oscars. Like, at what point do we stop counting how many awards we win?
It's fair.
6 in a row.
It's
If you
fair.
go 6 times and you win 6 times, that's how many
but
times
I mean, we're calling it historical, as Michael B. Jordan is the 6th Black. Like, at what point do we stop counting? Like, when we get to 10, 11, 12? Like, when do we stop counting?
You.
Like, he's good. He was great. He deserved it, and he won. Let's just call it that. Like, the fact that we gotta keep count every time a Black person, like, come on. Like, it was no doubt that Michael B was phenomenal in that film. He won. Let's just leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. I thought, as far as the overall Oscars, I thought they did their best to spread the love. It was a tough year. We can't pretend that every movie that was nominated didn't deserve. Every movie deserved to be recognized. Did I not like some, like I like others? Yeah. Like, I'm not a big fan of one battle after another. I call that movie the cheat code. People always say, why? And I'm like, because look at that cast.
Checked all the boxes.
Look at that cast. Like, literally, Paul Thomas Anderson walked in the room and was like, roll them. Guys, do your thing. Like, look at that cast. How does it go wrong? That script could have been about anything. So, yeah, but I mean, I think they did their best to spread the love. Everybody that got what they got deserved to get something. I do wish that Ryan got director, clearly, because, I mean, look what he did. Like, look what he did with Sinners. For a genre film that is primarily Black, and it to be received the way it was, beyond it just being a genre film, says everything you need to know about directing, cinematography. Like, I just think that he should have got recognized for that. You know what I mean? And so that was my only fault for the Oscars. I think that Ryan should have walked away with Best Director. If you weren't going to give him Best Picture, at least recognize that he is great at what he does and has been fairly consistent since he got into the game. He hasn't had a dud yet. Even his weakest film, which was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, it's still made box office. It's still beautifully shot. The guy is on his way. I mean, I know next go around he's for sure sweeping up the room, but I mean that's the only place I think that the Oscars failed as far as not giving him Best Director.
Fair enough. Spills?
I agree that, one day I feel like this is like, to answer your question, not tongue in cheekly, like, obviously I said it's 6 for 6 because Jordan is boo boo, but I think it's like the black quarterback thing. I think that once we get to the point where, putting a lead black actor in your movie won't change the Oscar bait of it. Like, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. Just like how it is in the NFL now, where if you're a good quarterback, you're a good quarterback. They're not going to try to be like, oh, we need a new guy in there. If the top 3 players in the league are all, or the top 3, or the category is all ours. I think that will change it. But just phenomenal. I think that's very phenomenal. I'm interested in the Bloodsport movie. I don't feel like we've talked about Bloodsport yet, but I want to see somebody.
Let's hold off on Bloodsport.
Okay, we'll hold off on.
quick.
Yeah. Go ahead. Jump on the. Go ahead. Jump on the
and
Oscars.
I'll, share my thoughts on the Oscars. And also in replying, let me be clear that Michael B. Jordan was incredible in that role in Sinners. And I guess the reason why, I wanted to preface it with, where it stands in history is because the Oscars have been around, 100 years, you might as well say. And just that discrepancy that you have there in history, where there's clearly a discrepancy there in terms of the folks that have been nominated or won that award. It is so it's so illuminating in terms of how long the award show has been around versus that particular factor. That is the reason why I felt the need to bring that around, because we've had the Oscars around, as I said, we're about
almost
to come up
100 years.
on 100 years. And to only say that that's happened 6 times, that is ridiculous. It's not on the fault of Michael B. Jordan. It's not on the fault of the folks that have won those 6 times. It's on the fault of the Academy. So
I think it's on the fault of the content in which we've been allowed to create over the years. Because think about some of the greatest black actors and what type of films they're in to showcase that talent.
Absolutely.
And those are the films that don't really get in the Oscars. So I mean, I hear you, and I'm not trying to say that it's not something to celebrate. It really is, but in my mind, when I hear that out loud, I'm like, well, when are we going to stop counting? Because now some of the greatest actors in the game undeniably are of color. Undeniably, like I'm talking to the point where you could have a Michael B. Jordan next to a Timothée Chalamet, and you're like, Timothée Chalamet shouldn't even win that. I felt that. I thought Michael B. was going to lose. But I also said, even though I loved Marty Supreme, I don't think that's Timothy's one. That's not his one. I don't think
so either. Yeah,
that's not his one. It's a good film, but it's not his one. So, if Michael B was going to lose to anyone, I didn't think it was going to be a Timothy. But you know what I mean. But no, I hear you a lot. I do. I just want us to just think a little bit.
And I want to be in that place too. I sincerely, Keith, I want to be in that place too, but I feel like a lot of times we have to shine a light on that in order to be able to highlight how much of a crazy discrepancy that is. But to add to what you mentioned about the directing side of things, I absolutely agree. When we were talking predictions and talking about who would win and who wouldn't win, I I thought it was going to be a toss up between Paul and
Shouldn't be though.
Coogler,
Shouldn't
and
have been.
I was going to say I thought that it was similarly that they would split, because I've seen it happen when it is neck and neck with two films and they want to be able to acknowledge both films. They'll give the directing award to one director, and they'll give the best
Hmm.
picture award to another filmmaker,
Hmm.
just to acknowledge that both were good and they don't have to choose. And I'm not gonna lie, I was bummed. I was really
Yeah.
bummed to not to see Ryan, win Best Director, because the achievement that you have there in that said film and what they were able to accomplish and the story that they were able to tell, um, and the talent that they had, all everything was churning on that film. Like the everything in that machine was like churning and at its best. And to not have that get recognized, and yes, he did get recognized for writing the script, and that's awesome. Still feel like there should have, and I don't know, this is my cynical brain or my you have to apologize, my what is it, conspiracy theory brain.
Your third eye
I
is open,
feel,
ladies and gentlemen. The third
I
eye
don't
is
know if it has
open.
anything to do. I don't know if it has anything to do with. I don't know if I'm sure you're aware of this, because I know you keep your ears to the ground too, Keith. Is the whole situation with the academy and not wanting to be a part of the academy, and like okay, since you don't want to be a part of the academy, then we're going to hand it to somebody who is like, I don't know,
Mm.
but yeah, like I will be very honest with you, very transparent with you, that I feel like, at however way you may feel of how close of a race it was for those two filmmakers, I feel like he should have at least won one or the other, whether it was Best Picture and giving Best Director, to Paul Anderson, or having him win Best Director and giving Best Picture to Paul Anderson. Like, even if you
Yeah.
felt that it was a split there. So, um, but getting into the, because I don't feel like a lot of attention is paid to this, and I feel like it's going to have a bigger impact than what we may believe. Is, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Keith, because this affects us too in terms of like the stuff that we get into. But with
Mm.
like moderating, because if you guys are not aware, Keith does panel moderating in a number of shows, and we do them both at the same
Yeah.
shows. But just the idea of us potentially having another strike on the horizon and what that looks like, the ripples of that going forward across the board with everything that we have. I like to, hear your thoughts, but whether it's Keith, first, or Spills, whoever like to go.
Real quick, I'll just say, like, I honestly, I think that they'll be a little more prepared for if a strike happens, as far as what we're allowed to do at these conventions. Because at the end of the day, these people got to make money, and if they're not acting, they got to make money making appearances and showing love with the fans. So I think a lot of them will probably be a little bit more prepared than they were the first time that happened, because conventions weren't a thing, and like, they were a thing, but they weren't as prevalent when
Prevalent, yeah, sure.
we had the strike. What was that, 2007, that first strike?
Yeah,
2000.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
around that
they
time.
want
Yeah,
yeah, it wasn't the bread and butter of the industry at that time, but like, now I think if it does happen, which I doubt it will, they gotta tie a bow on this AI thing like pronto, because it's common sense. If you're using my likeness, it'd be no different from if you were using my likeness in a cartoon, or using my likeness on a toy, or using my likeness.
yeah, because I represent a
It's
brand,
Yeah,
so
it's
like,
common sense. But also, McConaughey had said something where, and he got a lot of backlash for this. I was surprised, where he was telling stars, like, get on it now, start copywriting your likeness, like, get on it now, because it's
and get
coming.
ahead of it.
Like,
It's coming. Like, you
yeah,
can't really,
get it,
yeah.
yeah, get ahead of it. If you own your likeness, like, everybody all around has to understand that this is not a freebie. Like, if you want to use me, you gotta pay.
Yeah,
like, like it's like, you can't put me in a commercial for Heineken's and popcorn, and think that you just gotta use my face for nothing.
right.
Like, so
Now I hear you. Spills.
I'm interested in seeing what they do with it. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into how they matriculate their bean counting for this. So I think we'll see with time. I don't have much to say on the topic.
Well, I guess the reason why I bring it up, and I know, just to give you a context, spills, is when Keith and I were moderating. I guess this was what, 2023, and it was
Hmm.
during
Yeah,
that
yeah.
strike period. It was a really weird time because, like, we could have there were guests that we were moderating the panels for, but they couldn't talk about any of, like, the IPs that they had because they were still in the middle of the strike. And so,
Hmm.
in order to be in agreement with their peers for that said strike, we had to get really creative. And
Yeah.
I mean, it still worked out fine. But it did we did have to get really creative in terms of how those panels went, in terms of them being able to talk about their projects, about the folks that were in the audience being able to ask them about stuff. So
Hmm.
that was a very unique time. I will never forget it. It was fun to do. It was just very it was interesting in terms of how creative we had to get in terms of that impact. And then to take it a step further, you had some shows, like when we're talking about the case of San Diego, a lot when we're talking versus other cons, San Diego is unique in that those appearances are a lot of typically already accounted for in contracts with studios to promote a
Hmm.
said project, versus you having like a third party as a booker for other shows outside of San Diego Comic Con. So that drastically affected how that year of Comic Con went. And now that
Yeah.
I'm looking at now of what the deadline is of June 30th, that's right. I mean, people think that that's far away, but that's right around the corner. And
Hmm.
the very next month we have San Diego Comic Con. So hopefully they're able to come to an agreement, because they're going to have a repeat of that strike year of Comic Con,
Yeah.
where people already bought their tickets expecting, what, being able to have a look at a lot of these projects. And because of what was going on during that time, there a lot of people backed out, and it ended up becoming a shadow of itself when it was all
Yeah.
said and done.
You're gonna
So
see Marvel is gonna be the first studio to do $1 billion with no promotion.
yeah, yeah, I believe it. And I mean, this is just SAG AFTRA, guys. Like, this isn't even talking about WGA, because they're also
Yeah.
negotiating. So we may get a sequel to that too, in terms of
Yeah.
the strikes that we're getting. So, like, I am very curious. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that, and we will try to keep you guys updated on here and future shows of what happens with that, because I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on that. And and the optimistic part of me, Clep, feels like they will be better prepared and come to an agreement this go around. But I
Yeah.
mean, stranger things have happened, and hey,
Yeah.
like, people who don't know the history are what doomed to repeat it. So, like, we may get a sequel to those said strikes again, and it may have huge ramifications on the stuff that we take for granted, like going to cons, whether or how about the shows that we watch? Maybe they get delayed
Yeah.
because they end up going on a strike with the actors of them being able to shoot it, or they go on a strike with the writers writing the stories.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy to think about the huge ramifications there. But getting into blood sport, I will punt it over to you, Spills, because I know I said we want to hold off on it. Talk to me. Well, what are your thoughts?
I just want to say, Bloodsport obviously has a very special place in my heart.
Me as well.
Um,
Yes.
Jean Claude Van Damme was in rare form in that movie. I feel
Yes.
like he's tried to remake this movie, but it's never been really successful at like creating a character like Frank Dukes. So I'm interested. I'm interested in McKella being the director. That's very interesting. She's obviously done great things with all of her work. I like her stuff from the UK, and I like the stuff that she's done here in the States. So I'm just very interested to see what she does with this. I think it's a good set of eyes on it. How do you guys feel about Bloodsport? I know that we are all the demo age. Like, I feel like this is stuff that we
Yeah,
watch.
that was
Like, even if
that
you
was a
wasn't supposed
childhood.
to, you went over your friend's house. It's like, hey, you want to watch Bloodsport? They break a dude's arm in this movie.
It wasn't even that. Like this back in the 90s, like this used to be a lot of the stations, because I didn't have cable. I wouldn't get cable, for those of you who don't know. Like, tell a little bit about myself. I didn't really get cable until I was like in high school. But before that, like, I just had, the regular channels to work with. And as you guys well know, on a lot of those stations, they would have, especially on weekends, they would have movie marathons of like different films. Like UPN used to do that all the time. Channel 20
Yeah.
UPN, Fox 5 used to do that all the time, where they would have movies on Saturdays and Sundays. And I could count it off as a lot of time. It would start in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock. You would have like a double header or a triple header. And a lot of times one of those films would be Bloodsport. Like that was like a regular film they would play all the time. They would play Predator all the time. They would play Bloodsport all the time.
Lone Wolf McQuade.
They would play
All that.
Total Recall all the time. So like, I grew up watching this film and enjoying this film, again and again. Like this was Mortal Kombat for me before I really got into playing the game. Like, I remember when I first got it, had the opportunity to play the Mortal Kombat game. I was like, oh, this is just like Bloodsport. So, and it's crazy too, the synergy there, because for those of you don't know, like the trivia there, Johnny Cage was supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport. So, but yeah, like I am interested to see what they do, with this film, and I am excited about it, because when it comes to A24, I do love A24 films, and they normally have a unique take on the movies that are made under them. So I am curious to see what that's going to look like in this modern lens of telling that story. But I will just say this: no matter how creative they get in terms of the aesthetic or the look of the film, the action has to be on point. So I don't know who they're going to try to get in that regard to be able to capture a lot of what would be needed for that film, because when we're talking about the original, however way you may feel about the acting quality in that film, you can at least say this: the action was on point. And when we're talking about the action, they were able to effectively demonstrate the beauty of martial arts, in that there are all these various diverse styles of martial arts that were on display. Like, you were able to see, all types of forms of martial arts that people were masters of and were highlighting in that said film. And I hope we get a repeat of that in this quote unquote remake or reimagining. But I don't know how you feel, Keith.
So, if I'm not mistaken, the original was supposed to be based on a real life fighter, but by the name of Frank Dukes, right?
Yeah. Inspired by a true story.
Inspired by true events in this underground. Yeah. Okay, guy.
Yes.
I mean, that in itself is hilarious. We should have got like a Jack Black Anaconda version of this.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm all for it, man. I love the gritty, beat 'em up movies, man. They can never go wrong. I love them like I love revenge plot movies. You could keep giving me Taken 40, and I will watch those movies over and over again. Death Wish, all that stuff. So yeah,
Sure.
I mean, the tournament style films. I'm super excited for Street Fighter. You know what I mean? So a lot of people aren't, but I care more about Street Fighter than I care about the Mortal Kombat. So I'm all for this. I don't care who they put in this role, as long as it's not Glenn Powell. I know what's her face is supposed to be in it. They're doing the gender swap thing, which is cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just curious. I want to see it. I want to see bones get broken. Choreography better be tight. Let's get
better be on point. Better.
Jackie Chan's people in there. We got to see all this. So I'm excited for this. Like, I think older style of action movies is, it's back, kind of. I think we're missing that genre right now. we're so caught up in like the superhero stuff. Dramas have been doing their thing forever. We barely have comedies now, but those are kind of, we got Scary Movie 6 coming, but we'll see. But I think the action genre deserves a full-on comeback, because the last thing that I can remember that we got was Bad Boys, and it wasn't that satisfying for me. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say one film that I did see recently, and I did enjoy the action in it. And this was with what's his name, Bill Skarsgård. It was like a post-apocalyptic action film where he was like mute. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Keith.
I'm trying to think. Bill Skarsgård?
Yeah,
Oh, Boy Kills World.
yeah. Like I enjoyed
Yes,
that film.
that movie's fire.
It was an uber violent film, but it was like the choreography was tight. Like some of the characters were cool. I don't feel like it got enough love that it would have otherwise gotten. I feel like maybe later down the line it'll become a cult classic, because like there's some cool stuff there. There's a lot of humor, dark humor in it, with the fact of how he became mute. So your lead character became mute. So I mean, that I would say recently that kind of had an impact on me, where I was like, wow, this is an interesting film. The setting of it kind of being dystopian and post-apocalyptic, and the characters that you have in there and the action that you have in there. I enjoyed the mix. Maybe it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but like
that movie's fire. That movie was fire. And I just recently saw something more recent called The Protector, Protector, with what's her face from not is it Resident Evil? Was she involved? Mila Jovovich. Yeah. So she's in that, and I got to tell you, like, it as low budget as it was, they didn't go cheap on the choreography. They didn't hold back on the choreography and the rehearsals, because you could tell there was a lot of gunplay, and the story was very taken and very
that was the only reason why, like, I remember that I didn't jump on it immediately. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. But now that you bring it up,
they landed. They landed. Yeah, they landed all the action sequences, and like I said, you're not going to get much from the story. You're just going to be like, oh, okay, but you will be thoroughly entertained with the action of it. So they got to bring it back, bring that stuff back, man. I'm on for it.
Sure. And as I said, like I love the films that A24 produces, especially when we're talking about a lot of genre stuff like that they give us. So hopefully we have an interesting take on it when it comes to this cult classic actioner that we have from the 80s, of what they're able to do. So we will see.
And it sucks that they gotta like use the name, because honestly, this could be anything. It doesn't have to be Bloodsport, but the name is gonna sell the concept of what they're trying to, because it's gonna be different. It's not gonna be the same. It's an original story. They're just using the name. So
for sure. But guys, that is going to do it for us here at This Week in Pop Culture for this week's show. I want to thank my fellow co-hosts. I'm going to punt it over to you, Keith, first. If you could tell folks where they can find you.
Of course, you guys, I keep it simple down below. You can see that's ClepCX. I am ClepCX everywhere on every platform. You guys can find me there, or look out for all the movie news, television news, and pop culture on wearecritics.com. Check me out on social media, because I'm always dropping something about something, whether it's a reaction to a film or a full review, video, or article. You guys can check me out there.
Excellent. And Spills, talk to us, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to argue about who the greatest is of all times, you can hit me up on Instagram.com at TrulySpill. I can get there and we can count numbers or, games played or whatever we want to do. And I will prove you wrong. So that's where you can find me.
All right, excellent. And if you want to talk about the kryptonite for LeBron James, as I mentioned many times here before with Steph Curry, and also with Mr. Luka Doncic, who has been helping LeBron undeniably with this said run that they've been having. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on X, and then Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. But with that out of the way, guys, all jokes aside, thank you guys so much for joining. My co-host, thank you guys for joining this week. And yeah, till next time, guys, we will see you soon.